The reality is that your side hustle is likely to fail unless you're able to find some sort of competitive edge against other competition. So there are a lot of sellers on Amazon. There are roughly 2 million sellers, third-party sellers in the United States alone that are selling on Amazon. And that accounts for about 60% of the sales on Amazon that is coming from third-party sellers. So there's a lot of competition. No matter what you are doing, if you're doing retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale, private label, each area has its own competition and a lot of people competing to get the buy box and find profitable products. When you look at online arbitrage, you have a lot of people that are looking at the same sales that you are, finding the same products, sending those products into Amazon, jumping on those listings. So without a competitive edge, you're really going to be behind. And when you do have sellers that find a competitive edge and you don't use it, that's even worse. So what I'll be talking about is how I have developed what can be used as a competitive edge, is absolutely a competitive edge for online arbitrage. And we'll look at some data, some game-changing statistics that you can rely on, and how you can leverage this to make sure that you are staying on the leading edge of your competition.
Let's talk a minute about online arbitrage and what most sellers are doing today to find profitable products. As an example, here is Kohl's website. They have a clearance going on right now, save up to 70%. And then you can see all the different items here and the different categories that are on clearance. And sometimes they're on sale with a coupon or they have a steep discount because they're on clearance. If you're going to look at those items, a lot of times you're clicking on these one by one, but look at all the different variations of these products that you would have to look through, all these different types of colors that are possible, all these different sizes. So it would take me quite some time to go through every single one of these and just look them up on Amazon, hope I'm looking at the same product, trying to see, is it going to be profitable because it's normally 30, it was on sale, and now it's on a coupon, makes it $12. And there's probably some variance on here, but then again, I don't know which ones sell well and how much competition there is, things along those lines. So again, you need a tool that's going to automate this process, that's really going to put you ahead of the competition. So instead of you spending hours scanning items standing in the store or looking through these one by one, you can then instead use a tool that's going to download all this information. So I have videos and things that talk about that process, but essentially it is the web scraping tool, this sourcing software that can literally download thousands of items in a matter of minutes, look at every variation of those items and compare them to Amazon. And what that produces is a sheet that's called the AI Smart Analyzer. So it takes all that information that is run and scanned by that job and then presents it to you so that you can go through a large amount of items and isolate the ones that are profitable to sell, giving you all the key statistics that you're going to need, such as the velocity, the competition, is it profitable, all those things. So you can see this is a sample that I ran about a week ago that picked up over 43,000 items that were in Amazon's catalog. And this was a scan of Kohl's. And with that data, it's showing me a lot. This was a good sale. There was Kohl's cash. So there was a lot of profitable items to choose from. So that alone is game changing. And again, I do have videos that kind of talk through that. But what I'm talking about as really putting yourself ahead of the competition is this ability here. So this is a new feature that was just implemented. It allows you to export all of your order history from Amazon over whatever period that you like. I did from basically March of last year until this is January. And I put that into it. It exports it into a spreadsheet, a CSV file. And then I combined those into one big file and uploaded it. And when I uploaded it, it's basically showing that it looks at 4,007 orders that I've placed in that time period. And it's showing about 2,271 unique ASINs. And that time period, again, is covering February to, so about almost a year, maybe a month short of a year of history. But what that's doing is when you're sourcing for online arbitrage, one of the key things is understanding which items you've sold before. So I can run a list and it gives me a huge spreadsheet and I have thousands of items to choose from. But how do I know which ones were my best sellers? How do I know which ones I've sold before, I'm now sold out and I want to replenish? And then I can, at a glance, look at items that I've sold before that are graded A. So they're currently profitable. And I know I've sold this one 8 times in the past. That's a perfect one. So now I know that there's validity to that item, that I have sold the items on that listing, that when it says, even though the estimated sales are low and there's not a lot of competition, I've already sold 8 units on this one. So if I look at that, it's showing me the last time I sold this was just a week ago. My average sale price is 64. And right now the buy box is 70. And I've already made $518 revenue on this single item. So even though it's saying test buy because the sales history isn't showing great data, and I can look that up, I can just open up Amazon and we'll check out. So I know for a fact this item has sold really well and there's just not a ton of competition on it. It has a relatively higher sales rank than I normally would look at 500,000. But again, if you start looking at the Keepa, it's actually some pretty good activity here, right? And you can see the buy box and number of offers going up and down a lot, showing activity here. So even though it's not showing great data, look at this variant. It's only been on here for 184 days. So within that time, it does show good sales activity, but this isn't something that's been on here for a big period of time, but enough so that I could say, oh, okay, this is something that I know has good activity, that with the drops in offers going up and down like this, that there must be some volatility here. And even though SellerAmp is saying 12 per month, I would probably feel comfortable going back into here and saying, okay, if I'm going to be able to make $23 of profit on this one item at an 82% ROI, and I've sold 8 of these in the past, it's something that I would feel comfortable stocking, buying another 10, 15, 20 of these while the price is good, especially if it's on clearance. $29 buy cost is pretty good right now. And just having those at my prep center and just having stock listed and just getting sales over time for that item. So having that at a glance, seeing what your best sellers are, even if they're not currently profitable, you can understand, okay, in this period, it's picking up items that I've sold 11 times before. The average price was 50 and the buy box is 54. Right now, this one is not on sale or at a cost that's going to make it profitable. I would actually lose money at this point, but it's something I could certainly keep an eye on. And if you look at this, I tend to run these scans on the same items that I've sold previously. And I'm just looking for new sales, new offers, Kohl's cash promotions, clearance, whatever it may be. So you can see I have a lot of things that I'm selling over and over, 4 times, 3 times, 5 times, 2 times. And it just keeps going where I have all these items that I've sold in the past that I could be looking at as a replan for these items. Again, understanding that I've sold these in the past and seeing if they're currently profitable and what the ROI would be. So that itself is a huge time saver because otherwise you would basically have to look at your order history manually, try to find, is that same item something that you could purchase now? And if you're like me and you have 4,000 orders to go through, it's way too much time to do that. So I could sort these by just the excellent, and I could filter these by just the ones I've sold before. So all of these items, and you can see there's a pretty good amount in this list here that are currently considered excellent buys. You can see ROIs here ranging from 82, 75, 90, 94, 140. These are all good things that not only are looking good as an excellent rated item, but I know I have a sales history on those. And so it's a no-brainer just to be like, okay, especially if I don't have any of these left in stock, looking and focusing on buying things that I know are proven that I could order again and list on those listings, especially while it's profitable, it's a great way to source these and basically be shooting fish in the barrel. So I can still look at my information here, look at the ROI, the estimated velocity, and things like that. But a lot of these you can see when I find an item that is a really good ROI, a lot of times I'll take a chance on it, even if it only says, look, it only sold one a month, but I've sold three of them. So maybe that data isn't 100% accurate, because if it's only one per month and I've sold three of them, yeah, it may have been over time. But the idea is, don't sleep on things that may not have the greatest sales data, or Keepa may not show exactly a ton of data here. A lot of times this is out of the buy box. But again, there's a lot of activity here that we can base off of to say, even if this is saying 3 per month in Seller Am and we have a high BSR, people are still obviously finding this item. They're finding black Nike sweatpants in size medium, and they're finding them and they're purchasing them. Otherwise, it's very unlikely that you would see this type of movement in the offers for that particular variant. Being able to find products like that, again, with a sheet pointing out that it's excellent ROI, that you can research and have buttons side by side, bringing up the item on the retailer, bringing up the item right next to on Amazon, and having those match 100%, and then knowing that you could be looking at some really excellent ROI here, again, makes that competitive edge where you can succeed where others are not. So if they're spending hours standing in the store, scanning an item one by one, with the shooting things in the dark, not even knowing if it's something that they're ungated or allowed to sell in, here you're looking at things where you can focus your searches that you run here, like on Kohl's. You can pick the specific brands that you're able to sell, so that you know when you get this data, maybe you do Adidas, maybe you do Converse or Nike or whatever it may be, but brands you're ungated in. So all of the data that it gives you in the Smart Analyzer are all things that you know you can sell. That again is a huge time saver, and focusing on items that you've already sold is a big one. So the other thing here is you'll see some of these that have a gem and some that have this icon. Don't know how to describe it, but basically it's a new variant. I've made a ton of money personally selling items that are new variants of popular listings. So what I mean by that is, if you have something that's a very popular shoe, Nike Monarch or Adidas, and it has, say, 15 colors on it, a lot of those colors have been around, but all of a sudden, maybe Adidas doesn't make a new version or a completely different shoe. Maybe they just release a new pattern or a new color of that shoe. So now you're looking at something that has the parent listing that's very high selling, gets a ton of views, and now all of a sudden a new color variant shows up. Well, when those new variants hit the stores, how are people who are storefront stocking or other areas of sourcing going to even know that those exist? The web scraping, and when you run the jobs, those pick them up, and it'll show you that icon saying it's a new variant. And when it's a new variant, you can make a crazy amount of ROI on some of these items that are new variants, because it's brand new and there's not a lot of competition. So even if there isn't a lot of sales history, there probably wouldn't be, since it's a new item, you can jump on and get like 156 ROI on something like this. So if I open it up, you can see here right now, it's currently sold out. So if I could source this item, I'd be the only seller. That's another thing that's a very good indicator. And again, look at Keepa is only 86 days. And a lot of those days with this new variant of this item, there hasn't been any offers, including right now. And when there are, people are naming their own price. There's even as high as $117 for something that I could purchase for much less than that on here. So the new variant ones, especially when you're looking at all these different colors and you have something that's a 32K BSR, 1%, that all of these are out of stock. That's probably because you have different sizes and things like that. But if you're looking at like medium, for example, like all these different colors and things and 14 different variations are going to be in stock. This is, again, a very popular listing. When you find a new color, something that hasn't been on for very long on a listing, that's a great way to get sales, because you already know at a 33K sales rank for something like this, there are people looking at it and they're buying it. And look at this estimated velocity of 1,100 sales per month. Now all of a sudden there's a new variant, you jump on, you're the one selling it at whatever size. People will find it and people will buy it. And the data here attests to that because I've sold some of those in the past. So these are things that are, again, going to put you ahead of the competition, because if you're not using this tool, if you're not using this data, you're not going to find these things. So the other thing is that hidden gem. So it could be the out of stock. So when you're looking at the offers tab here, if I sort by offers, and there's some items here that literally have no other sellers on them. And when you do that, of course, I've previously sold, I can take that off and just look at all the data that I have here, look at the excellent, look at the reviews or the offers that don't have anyone on there. So all of these, when there's no other sellers on there, like that's a great way to jump on a listing. Now this data is a week old, so there may be sellers now, but I could open it up and just check. Okay, so right now there is a single seller that has jumped on this particular listing. But remember, when this is run, it's run at a moment in time. And when you're sourcing off of this data, what it's showing you is going to be accurate as of that moment. And again, something like as 117 per month, and maybe it's a variant that you want to check out. But when there's no competition and there's no other offers, again, you can name your own price. You can look at items where you're just not competing with anyone. So those items with those gems can definitely be a really good indicator that an item is going to sell and you're just not going to have competition on a listing. So as I open it, sometimes one seller, because frequently sellers are jumping off and on, but Keepa will show the number of sellers and whether Amazon is on the listing. But again, you'll be able to find some really good ones that have good velocity. And if I sort by reviews or maybe estimated sales per month, starting with the highest, and I'm looking at the sales per month, there's still a lot of these that are new variants that have good velocity. And then you get into the ones that don't have a lot of competition on there, especially if it says not applicable for the offers. And then you just basically source through these. With this amount of products that you could buy, there's just so many to choose from. So again, having that sold before data is crucial. I can look at another list that I ran. This was a second one that I actually ran on the same day. And this is for ones that I primarily sell on Walmart, but they're still good to look at for Amazon. And again, you can see there's a large amount of items that were considered excellent. And if I look at sold before, I only have one because most of these brands I don't sell on Amazon. But one thing to call out is when you're using this tool, you can find things that may be gated on Amazon. That happens all the time. People are complaining, I'm finding good items, or I don't have anything I can sell on Amazon. Look at Walmart. Like this one, I can buy and list these items on Walmart. A lot of times Walmart doesn't gate the same things that Amazon does. For example, Levi's, I can't sell on Amazon. I can't even apply to be ungated, but I can sell Levi's on Walmart. Same thing with some other ones like Bali's. There's some things that I could sell on Amazon. I just haven't gotten ungated on. And I just haven't gone through that process because they're asking for 100 units or 400 units or things along those lines. Just looking at the different types of things that you can run, you could isolate it to the brands. And again, looking at that data, especially the sold before, is going to be huge, because anything that I can focus on rather than just items that look good that I'm not 100% sure on the velocity, yeah, that's definitely going to be game changing. So I would recommend, if you've made it this far, go to aiproductsourcing.com. You can register for a free account. When you do go to your account, you'll get 1,000 items to scan for free. There's no billing information required. On the welcome page, there is a walkthrough video on getting started. It only takes a few minutes. There's no other tools or anything that were required to use this. There's no subscription, so you're not signing up for monthly anything. You're simply buying products as you use them, and it's a pretty low amount. So if you were to scan 1,000 products on a sale, that's only $3. And then if you have volume discount, so if you were to purchase, say, a bank of 10,000 products to scan, now your per 1,000 item price goes down to $270. and it goes all the way as low as $240 per 1,000 products. So it's a low cost tool, but it is a game changing tool. I developed it because I use it myself. You can see all the different jobs that I'm running here, all the ones I've run it for Home Depot, for Macy's, for Kohl's, for JCPenney, just whatever is having a sale. And I can scan Walmart as well to sell on Amazon and vice versa. I can even scan eBay and find items that may sell on Amazon as well. So give it a try. Go to the aiproductsourcing.com. We also have a newsletter that you can sign up for. The sourcing report gives you information on all the new sales that are going on. It gives you sample leads and things like that. All you have to do is going to that newsletter, hit subscribe. It'll hit your inbox. They'll have free leads, free sheets, and information on new features and things being released for the scraping tool. One last thing is I do have one-on-one coaching. If you are interested, it's definitely not required, but if you want to set up the exact same system that I'm using, that you're taking advantage of Fulfilled by Merchant versus Fulfilled by Amazon, you're leveraging prep centers for tax-free purchases, and also that they can send the items directly to customers. There's a return center that handles all the returns. So I could literally do this from anywhere because I'm not handling the products now that I've scaled. If you're interested, you can schedule a free call and schedule a free consultation. We'll go through your particular use case. If you wanted to purchase coaching, it's a one-time fee. It sets up everything that you need, and you can pretty much start getting sales and things right away. And I have a lot of people that have signed up and are very happy with that. Again, I urge you to find that competitive edge, whether it's using the sourcing tool, uploading your previous data so that you can focus on replens, looking at items that are new variants of very popular listings, and looking at items where there's just very low or no competition. Those are all things that will get you a mile ahead of other ones and really guarantee that this becomes a profitable business for you that you can be doing long-term and maintain that advantage, because there's just so many items that you can scan, so many different categories and things that you can sell. And if you use this type of tool, then you're definitely putting yourself in the driver's seat versus other people. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. We have a Discord, we have a school community for people to discuss and talk about reselling on Amazon. You can always message me or leave a comment. And again, I'm happy to do a quick Zoom demo of your particular use case on how this can work and how you would use it for your own use. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you next time.